thank you all for joining. My name is John Jeffrey and I head up our communities team at BCS, working with our member groups and our over 700 volunteers. As part of this series, we've been kind of signposting all the opportunities which are out there for members to get involved in volunteering. We've explored member group communities and joining committees to help put on events for members to learn. We've also explored inspiring the next generation through programs like Barefoot and also looking at kind of how members can broaden their understanding of industry through carrying out activities like assessment. We've got a great session for you today. We're going to be looking at mentoring, two fantastic guests, Nicola and Kylie, and of course our member engagement manager, Olivia. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started proper. A reminder, if you could just put your microphones on mute throughout the session and switch off your cameras. That just helps with brand width and ensure that everyone gets a kind of a really good experience from this webinar. But we will be coming into Q&A, so there'll be a chance to switch your cameras on, a chance to kind of talk and communicate with some of the other members who are on this call. So that's it with me and housekeeping. I'd like to introduce to you Olivia Wolfhart, and she'll continue with the session.
Thanks very much, John. Let me just grab my slides up. And I think you should have it there. Okay, so yeah, as John said, my name's Olivia. I'm in the membership team here at BCS, and this afternoon we're going to have a quick overview, first of all, from me of the BCS Career Mentoring Network platform. In case you're not familiar with that, I'll just give you a brief overview. And then, yes, kindly joined by Nicola and Kylie, who are just going to talk a little bit about their experiences in mentoring. They'll be sharing some of their experience around why they offered to be a mentor, how they support their mentees, and any guidance or advice they might have for new and prospective mentors. So yeah, before that, let's just give you a quick overview of the BCS mentoring platform tool. So mentoring most broadly can help individuals reach their potential, and is also a great sort of valuable tool for CPD as well, continual professional development, both for the mentor and for the mentee as well. And the BCS Career Mentoring Network really enables mentees to identify potential mentors and vice versa. So yeah, it works both ways and is entirely controlled by the user. And is driven by sort of experience and competencies that individuals hold, and that will help people decide who might be a good sort of match and a good fit for them, for their mentee-mentor experience. So you will find the BCS Mentoring Network within the Member Secure area, My BCS, and it's just straight away on the homepage there. And yeah, it's designed really as a matching service. So once a mentor and a mentee have matched together, you'll be able to then decide on how you want to take that relationship forward. Everyone's different. So some people might prefer a more face-to-face experience. Some people might be happy with this sort of Zoom type thing. Maybe phone calls or ad hoc emails might suit some people better. So we're not doing anything to sort of define what that relationship should look like, because everyone's after something slightly different. So yeah, it's just about finding people through our networks who would be a good fit. I did put together a quick video, which I won't play that now, but I will put the link to it in the chat. And this is just going to walk you through the basics of how to sort of navigate the platform. I mean, it is very straightforward, but yeah, this video will just give you a sort of a 2-minute overview of how you can sort of navigate through the tool. But if I just give you a sort of a summary of that, the first time, oh, it's going to play by itself. The first time you go into the system, you will have to just add a few details about yourself into a profile. So this is about your sort of experience that you've had in the industry. It'll be a little bit about any skills that you have or competencies that you have, and then some experience around, you know, what types of organizations you've worked in and what sort of roles you've had. You will also be able to fill in a little section, which you can see sort of in the middle here. It says the type of mentee I'm looking for, depending on obviously if you're a mentor or a mentee. It's just the type of person you're looking to match with, really. And I think, you know, with regard to making your profile really visible and getting lots of traction on there, I did just want to share a few bits of insight as well from our community. So I think with regards to our sort of student and early careers community. They're the groups that I work most closely with. And I know that the more popular skill sets are people are looking for support around sort of software development, cybersecurity, data and DevOps or cloud technologies as well. So if you have any technical capabilities in those areas, it would be really good to add that into your profile. And then when it talks about the type of mentee or mentor you're looking for, it would be really great to talk about, you know, the fact that you might be open to mentoring students and or people who are early in their career. So that I think, you know, for some people, they might be a bit nervous about having a mentor for the first time or connecting with someone who's got a lot more experience than them. So it's just, if you are open to particularly those sort of early careers and student groups, it's great if you could sort of mention that and be explicitly sort of welcoming. And then in addition, I did also want to mention that we are doing some support as well around sort of supporting people who've been displaced due to conflict. And if you can see right at the bottom of the screen there, where it says about keywords that describe my skills, what we're doing is a sort of a specific way that people can find each other through this displacement program. So if you add in the keywords refugee support into that group, then we're liaising directly with people who, you know, who are suffering through the conflict in Ukraine, who've come over to the UK, and so on. And so we're telling them, you know, if you're a BCS member, you can find people here who are willing to support you through that. It's almost like a hashtag kind of thing, really, with that refugee support. So then, yeah, that profile would be visible to people who are specifically searching for that sort of keyword or hashtag type thing. So once you've created your profile here and added in as much information as you want to about yourself, it's then about sort of the searching process. So once you've filled in your profile, you can carry out a search for someone based on things like, well, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here, it's things like their job level, their skills, their sector, and look through the profiles that come up in the search and see if you think that they would be a good fit for you. And if you think that someone is a good match for you, then it's simply a case of there'll be a little button on their profile that you can request them to either be your mentor or your mentee, depending on what you're looking for. Just a side note, actually, that you can set up both in tandem, so you can be both a mentor and a mentee at the same time as well. So yeah, it's then simply a case of finding people who you think might be a good fit for you and connecting with them. You then can work out the finer details together. You know, how often do you want to meet, what days work for you, what formats and things like that. Especially with people who might not have been a mentor before, or who maybe have done different types of mentoring. We have also put together, and again, I'll stick the link for this in the chat. We've put together this mentor handbook that is designed for first-time mentors in mind, but is open for anyone to use. And it just covers some basic guidance on becoming a mentor, some pointers on establishing good relationships, some different formats and things you might like to try for running sessions together, and some useful resources like a SWOT analysis template and all that kind of stuff, just to help you kind of get started and set some of those goals that you might agree together. So yeah, I'll stick the link for that in the chat as well. And I think, you know, at the moment, with regards to our mentor system, we have got a slightly heavier weighting in terms of numbers, a slightly heavier weighting of mentees to mentors. So we are always keen to be on the lookout for anyone who is interested in being a mentor. And the reason I mentioned specifically students and early careers is because we've got a few schemes running at the moment specifically for those audiences. And we are seeing numbers of those new members come through from those groups. So we've got quite a lot of new students coming through from a new academic membership with universities. It's a sort of a student package that we've got. So we've got quite a few student members coming from there. And then we've also got these new relationships with bootcamp training providers. So if you're not familiar with these, they're the sort of accelerated learning programs for people who are either out of work or looking to change careers and get into tech. So it's short, sort of few-week program of skill shortage areas like DevOps and data and cybersecurity, and we're getting quite a lot of members through those as well. And obviously they're keen to find a mentor as well. And so I'm very sure that there are people on the call today who can provide real value to those people in terms of becoming a mentor and supporting them through their first initial steps into tech. But equally, we've got, you know, many members who are mid-career and above, also looking to get support into that next step as well. So with that being said, let me, I'll put the relevant links in the chat, and let me turn this off, and I'll hand over now to Nicola Martin, who's just going to share a little bit of experience from her angle of becoming a mentor and the value that it's provided to her as well.
Hi everyone, I'll just start to share my screen. Find it. Okay. Ooh, wrong thing. There you go. Okay. This is going to really be about my mentorship journey, and then just some tips and tricks for yourselves and how you can really get the best out of being a mentor, whether that's through the BCS or with any other organisation that you might be thinking about joining. But hopefully you'll think about being a mentor for BCS. So just to let you know what we'll cover today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about me and my background, my mentorship experience, how I support my mentees, why you should be a mentor, so the benefits of doing that, how to become a mentor, and then some top tips, and then I'll conclude with a little bit more information. And I'll be cheeky, there's something else I want to add at the end for one of the groups I'm with, so I'll cover that as well. Okay, so about me, I've more recently gained a place on BCS Council, so I've become a BCS Council member this month, actually, beginning of the month. I'm really happy about that and looking forward to being able to support the wider membership community. I'm Vice Chair for the Special Interest Group in Software Testing as well, SIGIST. I'm Vice Chair for the new BCS LGBTQIA+ group, Pride. I'm really happy about that. We've got lots of fun things planned for this year. I'm an inclusion officer for BCS Women, which is a role that I initially started out as when I became active as a volunteer, and I've continued to do that for BCS Women. In my day job, I'm actually head of quality engineering for a company called Adaga, and we are predominantly in the AI and data science space, working with defence and government. And I also mentor, but my mentorship is predominantly through BCS, so using the platform. People approach me to mentor them, or I work privately, and I usually find that people approach me through LinkedIn, or if they've seen me speaking at other events, talking maybe about diversity or women in tech, or even quality engineering, then they come to me via LinkedIn mostly, or Twitter, the main avenues that people go down. So my career path, I didn't start out in tech. I started working at 18, straight out of school. And I was an admin and then a conference organizer for the Confederation of British Industry. I moved into tech in '99. My first job was with then Glaxo Wellcome, but now they're GlaxoSmithKline. And I worked within the tech team there and built skills from there. Throughout my career, 22 years and counting, I've been a project admin, project manager, business analyst, and I've had many other roles, mostly in testing. I found that's what I loved, and I've stayed in it. And as I've mentioned, I'm on BCS Council, and I work with other groups within BCS membership. And I also mentor for BCS and privately. And the industries I've worked in, IT and computing, pharmaceuticals, education, government, aviation for a few years, and mostly actually it's finance. So I've worked in wealth management, investment banking, and those areas. So I've worked in several industries, and it's given me quite a wide-ranging view of tech. Why did I become a mentor? So there were several reasons, but these are the main ones I could think of off the top of my head. I wanted to give back to tech. I had done many years, but actually didn't start to volunteer until maybe 3 years ago. Actively. I had done some volunteer work for United Nations Online Volunteers prior to BCS, but found that I just didn't have the time to do that, family and other stuff outside. So didn't really give that much back, but decided actively about 3 years ago that I wanted to do that. So I became a mentor because I wanted to give back, to support people coming up in the industry. It was really important to me. I wanted to see more people like me, women, or even Black women coming up in industry, and I wasn't seeing that. So I wanted to try and drive forward initiatives to help that to happen. I wanted to learn about the experience of others. All the way through your career, you're always learning, and it was really, really important for me that even though I was mentoring, that I'm also learning about other people and their journey and their experience. And that's a big thing that you'll take away from being a mentor if you choose to do it. And also to encourage others to stay in industry. As a woman, and I've had a baby, and I struggled with the idea of coming back to tech, but I'm glad I did. And I know that there would be other people out there with the same situation as me. And so I wanted to encourage others to stay in the industry who may be, thinking that it wasn't for them. So it's really, with mentorship, it helps you to focus on goals that can maybe open up other career paths to you within tech, or to consider a totally different career. But, being able to speak to somebody about it who has advice that they can share is a big win, and helps you to, and for me, it helps me to encourage other people to hopefully stay in the industry. So my overall mentorship experience, I do support tech teams at work. So I advise very loosely, nothing more formal, but we are actually starting a mentorship initiative within our DE&I team to the wider company. So that's something we'll start at work fairly soon. I've joined groups that focus on diversity in tech so that I could offer my services as a mentor. In terms of volunteering, I worked with BCS, obviously I've said that, but I also worked up until December with Women in Tech UK. Last year I worked with the Association for Black and Ethnic Minority Engineers. And also I've done some speed mentoring sessions with Coding Black Females, and that's always lots of fun. Surprisingly, speed mentoring works. Sometimes people don't want lots of sessions. Sometimes they just want one-off advice. So I do give one-off mentorship sessions as well. And also I do private mentorship. So where people approach me through LinkedIn or Twitter, or maybe if they've seen me at events, they come up to me after events and talk to me. So where I've done in-person events. How do I support my mentees? So the key thing I often get asked for is career advice. People want to know how I've managed to get to the level that I'm at, what things have I experienced that maybe they might have currently be experiencing that I can give advice on, problem solving, setting goals, and sharing all of my experiences so far. And I'm sure there are lots more to go. I'm not about to give up my career yet, but it's it's interesting to be able to give those insights to people and to hear their own experience as well, and knowing that sometimes we've mirrored each other, even though they might only be starting out in their career. Why should you be a mentor? The benefits. So I often give mentees the benefits of why they should find a mentor, but actually there are benefits for you if you choose to become a mentor. So it's mostly about support and career growth. So you're supporting someone else to grow their career, but actually being a mentor can be really beneficial for your CV and your own career growth. As I've said before, you're learning, so you're picking up skills as well. It's helping you to deal with complex situations as well. And these are all, you're picking up lots of soft skills that you can apply to your everyday work. So it's really good for that. It helps you to connect to peers in your industry as well. I've met so many people since I started this journey, because not only did I start to give people mentoring sessions. But when people heard I was doing that, I've been asked to speak at events, or even to be panelists on events, talking about just what the benefits are and the pitfalls and things like that. So it gives you a chance to link to people who are, you know, possibly in leadership that you would never have connection to, or, you know, people who are working in the same kind of role as you, but, you know, in different industries, for example, and you can really learn and gain insights from people in different situations. It helps you to build your confidence. So, I mean, before I started volunteering and before I started mentoring, I never presented. I would do everything I could not to do any presentations. And actually, I love doing it now. So, you know, it totally builds confidence, and you will be building confidence in your mentees as well. If you share your experiences with them and they feel more confident, having maybe conversations with their managers at work that they wouldn't have wanted to have before, things like that. You're helping people to reach their goals, which is always, you know, a benefit, and you know, it makes you feel really good about what you do. So it's the altruistic parts of mentoring that I love the most. Just the giving back is brilliant. It improves your own performance. As I say, you pick up lots of soft skills doing this, and you know, it builds up strengths in other areas as well. So you're developing strengths too. So how can you become a mentor? So there are lots of avenues into it. You'll see if you scan through LinkedIn for mentorship, you would find lots of groups who are running initiatives. You could potentially, like we've discussed, join BCS, and you could specifically join groups within the membership area. So I've listed the ones I know of, or the ones that I work with more closely, and including Embrace, who I used to work with, but I don't anymore because I have no time. But I would like to do something with them in the future. But I do work now, obviously, with SIGIST, the Pride group, and BCS Women. We do speed mentorship through BCS Women in conjunction with Black Coding Females. So that's an example of groups that you could join and get involved in mentorship there. Other groups externally, just to give you some examples of that, as I said, I've worked for Women in Tech Global. They have a global initiative that they run each year. It's amazing the amount of chapters, countries that are involved in that, and you can get involved in your own chapter, so UK if you wanted to, and you know, really gain some insights into what it is to mentor, you know, in a situation that isn't BCS, for example. There's Black Coding Females, as I've mentioned. They do regular events around mentorship, and also run speed mentorship with us, but also they do their own mentorship initiatives as well. More recently, we've done work with Tech Up. From BCS Women have done work with Tech Up at Durham University, so they also have a mentorship initiative as well. And then there's conferences that happen globally. One of the conferences I spoke at last year, Women Tech Network, they also have a mentorship initiative as well that you could get involved with. Just look up Women Tech. There are lots of women in tech groups, but if you just put in Women Tech Network, they'll come up, and they're always looking for mentors as well. The other way you could become a mentor is starting with your diversity and inclusion groups at work. If you don't have one, set out to start one. You know, it's not easy. It might take a bit of work, and you need to have other members of your team or wider company involved in it. If you work in a smaller company, it's probably easier to set up. And then start your own mentorship initiative. As I've said, my own company are about to start one, so we'll be working on that over the summer, I assume. And that will be really popular because there are skills that people want to, maybe are interested in, but don't know how to reach out to somebody to ask if, you know, they would be willing to mentor them. Now, I will come on to it, but obviously mentorship is not training. It is just advice and, you know, trying to help people to reach goals. Maybe that's the next slide. I don't know, it's probably the slide after, but I'll come back to that. But the top tips I'd advise, maybe give for mentoring, and things that I've figured out on my own along my journey. I think Kylie was saying before the meeting started that she had no formal training. I've never had any formal training in being a mentor. It's purely based on what I know and what I can share with others. And because I've worked with other groups who have done mentorship initiatives, I run my sessions based on the experiences I've had. So these are some of the things that I've learned. So plan how sessions will proceed with a mentee at the outset. It's really important. It's like setting the rules of engagement, really important to do. And then both of you know what the situation will be throughout the process and throughout the time that you're working together. Make a high level / rough plan of what you want to cover before every session, and make sure that the mentee is aware of what you're going to cover. So if they have to do any prep, they can do that. Agree the number of sessions at the outset. Obviously, if you go over that, you can replan and decide what else you need to do, but try and agree the number, because it sets that in the mentee's mind that they have to work towards a goal by that session. This is what I was referring to before. Mentoring isn't training. So don't feel that you need to be able to train somebody in a specific area to give them advice on it. You may know of the thing that they're talking about. You might know a lot about it, but you might not actually do that thing every day. So it may be that they need to reach out to somebody who has more experience than you have, but you might also be able to point them in the direction of someone else who can help them at a more deeper level if they do need to be trained on something in particular. It's not training and it's not coaching, and it's really important that you stress that to them at the beginning, and this is why I talk about the rules of engagement. Take sessions seriously. You prep your work if you're supposed to as the mentor. So that means that both of you get the most out of your sessions. It's important that you do as well. And be open to feedback. You're a person who, you make mistakes too. And if you do something that maybe the mentee's not happy with, take that feedback on board. Or if you, cover something and they think they should have covered something else, or they don't think that you've done enough, take that feedback on board and, try and change your sessions to match that, embed that feedback into your offering. And I'm sure that you'll find that you'll enjoy working with your mentors more if you listen to feedback. With your mentees, I should say. So in conclusion, there's some points here that I've jotted down. So mentoring plays a vital part in advancing tech careers, because a lot of companies, you'll be surprised, smaller companies don't like to pay for training. It's a fact. And so how do those people, say, for example, in a smaller company, get the most out of their career so that they don't feel that, oh, all I do is work and actually there's no advancement here and I don't know what to do and I'm stuck. I don't have any connection to any other companies and I don't know who to ask. That's where in those kind of situations where mentorship is gold. It really helps someone to think about where they want to go, how they're going to get there, and what they need to do to make that happen. It's just a vital part, I think, now. And since the lockdowns and COVID, I think it's being highlighted more how much mentorship really plays a part in advancing careers. It can make mentees accountable for their own career development and ensure that they're meeting their goals. Absolutely true, because you're constantly feeding back to them that they are responsible for the outcomes of the sessions. They are responsible for prepping work that they need to get done for the sessions, and that they are working towards goals. You're just advising and helping them to get there. And as I've said, whilst it's not training, mentoring does encourage mentees to keep their skills up to date, which is great for industry. So if a company wasn't offering training, which it's rare and it's smaller companies usually, encouraging them by pointing them in the direction of free training courses, things like that they could do potentially to, improve their skills is always still beneficial. And in bigger companies, obviously they would have, training paths and things that they would have to follow. So, it's really important that we keep people's skills up to date, whether that's through mentorship, training, coaching, and making sure that we keep people within the industry, because we lose a lot of people from tech, especially women. Finding the right mentor can be a really positive impact on someone's career and self-confidence. It really can. There are a lot of bad mentors out there, I will say that. So, really work on being the best mentor that you can, making sure you keep your own skills up to date in that area. So the soft skills that you need to work with other people. This also, I would say, helps you if you're somebody who's in a lead role, a team lead role, for example, who wants to work towards a management role. These skills really help you, because one of the key things you should be able to do as a manager, I think, is mentor and support your staff or other staff within your company. And it is a really powerful tool for networking and meeting people. I would definitely say that. And that's it, I think. Is that it? Yeah, that looks like that's it.
Thank you so much, Nicola. That's a really great range of sort of experience you've had, and some really, really useful, I think, practical advice as well for people who are looking forward to getting into mentoring.
Could I be really cheeky? There's one more thing I needed to add to that. So I've mentioned that I work with a lot of groups within BCS, but we've actually just started BCS Pride. So anybody on this call, if you're interested, we still have roles that haven't been filled yet, and I've been asked if I could mention them. We're looking for a visibility lead to help us run campaigns on digital platforms in May, June and October this year. We're also looking for an awards lead to set up an award ceremony from the ground up for the team. And we're looking for a support lead to help us engage with other BCS members. So if anyone's interested in any of those roles, you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn, Nicola L. Martin, I think it is, at MBCS, or I'll drop my details in the chat. So sorry to hijack the meeting, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Very important point. Thank you, Nicola. Okay, we're going to move over to Kylie now, who's going to share some of her experiences of a more sort of informal style of mentoring that she's done throughout her time as well. So we'll go over to Kylie, and then after that, we'll open the floor up for some questions as well. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. Nicola, that was amazing. I think, you've just got such a wealth of experience. It's so fantastic you could share it with us, and I feel really inadequate now. Not really, but, I have a very different set of life experiences. You can probably hear from my voice, I'm an immigrant. So when I first came over to the UK, I also worked as an administrator and temporary secretary, and managed to get myself by hook or by crook into tech about sort of the early 2000s, just as the .com crash was happening. And since then, my career has been very much around contracting, and in the latter parts of it, becoming more of a consultant. So in a very niche area of IT, I have to say, it's even niche in terms of service management. It's an IT service management area, but it's even niche. It's IT asset management, and we're now sort of starting to move into cloud financial management and FinOps and that sort of thing. So I wanted to just have a brief reflection on the ways that my own career, it's independent. I effectively run my own very, very tiny small business. I did bum on seat contracting for probably about 10 years. And then as my own experience levels increased, I gradually shifted into consulting, where I'm actually helping organizations think about how they need to change the way they do their IT asset management and manage their IT assets in order for them to achieve their own goals as organizations. So that change has been, that career journey is probably quite an unusual one, but I've really benefited from having informal mentorship the whole way through. Even right at the beginning, getting into tech, I was working as a temporary secretary for the Royal College of Nursing, and my boss, I was talking to my boss and I said, I really want to get into technology. And he said, well, why don't we set up a 2-week volunteer, you can go and work on a help desk for 2 weeks and see how you enjoy it. I mean, what a powerful thing for somebody to do to a person just setting out on their career. But really, if you think about it, that's a real mentorship role. Without that opportunity, without having had the opportunity to have those conversations with that person, I would never have been given that amazing opportunity. And so I've had those opportunities given to me, and also just, you know, feedback and help developing my career, developing my own managerial skills, how I navigate my own career, from so many people throughout the last, you know, my career is 20 years, that I think I really enjoy that sense that now I'm in a position to actually give back. I'm in a position to hear and understand the needs of people who maybe are just one conversation is enough to help them overcome a minor problem, or somebody might want something that's a bit more long term. But it's as Nicola said, it's such a great way of giving back, but also which makes it really satisfying. But also I'm picking up and replaying almost those experiences that I've had of support by mentors throughout my life. So as the guy said, I informally mentor. So actually, in funny ways, actually, I have been paid to mentor. So a couple of times, because I'm so niche, a couple of times I've had organizations say to me, we'd like to pay you in order for you to mentor an individual. Now, these individuals may have had a really difficult time in their careers. I know somebody had been bullied at work, and I think the organization felt that a way of responding of supporting that person through that experience was to give them mentorship. And I was the person who knew most of what so they moved this person into a new role, and I was the person who knew most about that role. But I think they also felt that perhaps I would be a good person to help rebuild that individual's confidence after that bullying experience. So that was an interesting role. It was with a guy, and I think there's some real differences between mentoring guys and women. So that was with a guy, so that was very business focused. You know, he was really focused on understanding the role and gradually you know, being given the tools and the knowledge to help him rebuild that sense of confidence that allowed him to then step into that role and step into other roles in the organization and recharge his career and get his career going after that horrible experience that he'd had. My current mentor that I work with at the moment is a woman, and she's a young mother. Well, she's not a young mother, she's in her 30s. She's got 2 small children, and for her, and mentoring her is quite interesting because she doesn't have a particular problem that she needs to address. She doesn't have you know, she's not had a horrible experience, professional experience that she's trying to overcome. But for her, it's just that sense of support while she's juggling this experience of with 2 small children, restarting a career after maternity leave, and then also being really adamant that she wants to build her career so that she's the best role model that she possibly can be for her children. So mentoring her is a much more holistic experience. You know, the conversations are about, well, what she's done with her children that week, how she's finding time to not only do and maintain her own work and manage her own team, because she's now got a small team of her own as well, but also how to squeeze time for her within the very difficult, you know, very full life that she leads. You know, one of the things that we're working on is thinking about finding space for her. And what I find really interesting is that she says to me, she can't find space for herself unless her cups are full. And the cups that have to be full before she can fill her own cup are her children's cups and they're her work cups. And then after that, she can find space for her. So we're sort of together just thinking about tactics and ways that she can fill the children's cups and fill the work cups and then find the space that she needs to fill her own cup. When apart from those circumstances when I've been asked to actually mentor somebody and paid to mentor somebody, I usually find my mentees very, very informally. I'm quite active within BCS groups, and also, you know, I speak at conferences. And so I often just have ad hoc conversations with people who will come up to me and we'll have a conversation about something. And I rarely actually get asked to be a mentor, but what I find is that I fall into these mentorships. So the current lady that I'm mentoring with the 2 children, we were in a Women in ITAM session at a conference last year, and it was clear that she was just juggling these different pressures. And as we were all leaving the room, I said to her, look, you know, would you like to just have an hour a week or an hour a fortnight and we can chat through some of these issues? And she jumped at the opportunity. So that was where I offered. Whereas on other occasions, it's just sort of happened naturally. So I think there's a couple of things there. One is the courage to ask is something that a lot of people find quite hard. And also as a mentor, it takes a lot of courage for you to actually feel that you have sufficient to offer somebody. So actually it took a lot of courage for me to say, well, you know, do you want to just have these conversations once every so often? And I could do it as a friend because I had seen her at conferences and that sort of thing. So I knew her well enough to make that offer, but it still took a lot of courage for me to feel that I had something worthwhile to offer her. So I think actually this mentoring portal that the BCS is offering is a really good one. But I find it interesting that the focus is so much on tech, what skills you have, what area of tech that you work in, whereas in fact my experience of mentoring is it's all about the soft skills. It's amazing to help build somebody's sense of confidence, sense of self-worth, so that they can then go out and grab the opportunities that are there in their own professional and their own lives. And also to help build that sense, and also to build your own soft skills. So when you mentor, it's really important to listen, to reflect, to reframe, but not dictate to people, and also to take that holistic approach, to recognize that this is not necessarily, and particularly for women, it's not necessarily just about professional. We all have our own private lives, and those private lives can impact our professional lives. And so we need to think about that as well. Often it's not necessarily just about the professional side of things. And I think the other really important thing as a mentor is to celebrate successes. One of the loveliest things that you can do is, well, yes, exactly. It is, men do have these private lives as well. Somebody's just said as a comment, just as they do with a man, but it's, you know, working with women, it comes out all the time. It's so important to be open to addressing that with when you're mentoring a woman. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so I've completely forgotten. I got distracted. Sorry. I shouldn't read the notes the comments. Yeah, so it's the soft skills that are really important, and you develop them in yourself. And that's it, celebrating successes. Thank you. So often when I'm mentoring somebody, I will say, you know, what's the success that you've had this week? Because so often we focus on problems and issues, but actually it's really important to celebrate our own successes and the successes that we have helped others achieve as well. So for instance, you know, the lady I'm mentoring, sometimes her successes will be something her team has achieved. So, or it might be something she's done with her children, or, you know, it might even be as small as she managed to go for a walk by herself and was just able to listen to the you know, just have some bit of time to herself, which, you know, she finds so challenging. So I think it's the soft skills that are the top tips. You need to be really thinking about what they are and helping develop them in yourself and developing them in other people. And I think that sort of flows through to what Nicola was saying about mentoring can actually help your own skills as a manager. So as you progress your career, you will naturally, or most of us will end up managing more and more people. And so actually the mentoring process really helps develop the skills that are required to be in a position so that you can actually manage and nurture and get the best out of your team. And I just wanted to add a little link to the chat, which is about psychological safety, because you cannot mentor somebody or build a team unless you help build psychological safety. And I've got a friend who has built out a toolkit for psychological safety, which I thought people might be interested in, and I've just put in the chat. So, the other thing is, and I'm sorry if I'm running over, the other thing is that mentoring somebody is a bit of a journey. So it has a beginning. You've got the point where you're getting to know each other. You're getting to, as Nicola said, sort of set and establish those boundaries. And then you actually go through the mentoring process where you're actually achieving, building out the structure, you're helping the person achieve what it is they want to achieve and helping them meet those goals. And then most mentoring, or all mentoring relationships, will eventually come to an end. And I think that it's an important thing to recognize that all relationships have ends, and to help handle those ends in a way which is supportive, but also recognizes that the mentoring is coming to an end. For me, I find it often happens quite naturally. The person doesn't get as much out of the mentoring sessions as they used to, so they might start skipping sessions, or might be starting to run late or whatever, and you just sort of say, no, that's fine. And then gradually they'll fade away. I really enjoy having that sense of a relationship with somebody. That's what mentoring, for me, is the prime driver, I think, is building that relationship with a person. So I will often go back to my old mentees and perhaps just have a quick phone call with them and see how they're going, or drop them a note and see how they're going, and just say, so do you want to chat? It would be lovely to catch up. So I do that more for me than for the mentees, to be honest, because for me, one of the most rewarding things about it is the relationship that I have nurtured over the period where I've done the mentoring. So I think that's pretty much my brain dump. I hope it's been useful and helpful, and yeah, time for questions, I guess.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Thank you, Kylie. So anyone who's got any questions at all, then please, either you can type them in the chat, but it would be lovely to see and hear you if you're up for that. So please feel free to just take yourself off mute and yeah, ask away. While we're waiting for some questions, I'll just, yes, Laura, go for it.
I don't have a question. I just want to apologise for putting you off your flow, Kylie.
Don't worry, it's fine.
Nobody's done that well. Lots of people have done that to me over time. Apologies. I really like your psychological safety website that you've pulled up. It's really, really relevant. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you found it useful. It's well worth looking at.
I suppose, yeah, I do have one question. What's the biggest thing that you've learned from the process?
I'll go first, I guess. So definitely the soft skills. It's really great having the opportunity to be able to put them into practice, because soft skills are something that takes practice.
Thank you.
Answer as well.
Yeah,
it's similar. Again, it is, as I mentioned, it is the soft skills. I think when you start out, you don't expect to pick up many skills yourself. You think you're just going to be like a stream of consciousness to other people, but actually you pick up so many skills you didn't realize you were missing, maybe, or needed to improve on. The confidence thing is massive. I see myself as introvert, extrovert, and a lot of the time I would die in front of the camera. I would never be able to present, or even in a room of people not be able to speak, and it's completely changed all of that for me. So there are massive things that you gain from it as well, but you just don't think about those things when you set out. Yeah,
brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Josephine, you have your hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kylie, for the talk. Yeah, so obviously being from my personal experience as a mother and being a woman in tech, sometimes you do find yourself competing, or, trying to prove that you do have some knowledge. So when you gave an example that you mentored a lady, or you currently are mentoring a lady that has two kids. So sometimes when you're mentoring, have you ever had someone tell you maybe something personal, especially at work, where you feel an action needs to be taken? How do you kind of navigate your barrier, as opposed to, that maybe this person's being bullied at work and maybe you feel you need to raise that? But I know you had a situation where you were actually working for a company, but in a situation where you're not attached to the company, how do you handle that? Do you just tell the mentee, advise them what they should do when they get back to work? Or it's
working through certainly as an external person, not in that in the organization. It's working through the different tactics and the different options that that individual has available to them. Not knowing what the internal company procedures are, and to be brutally honest, my two big gaps in experience is I've never had children myself, and I've never actually managed a team. So actually this is where the soft skills come in really handy, because I've never had that experience of juggling, you know, the of having to fill the children's cups before I fill my own. So I've had to listen and understand and try and empathize with what that means in practice, and have the discussions about, well, what are the options? You know, is it possible to think about these issues differently? And it's the same with if somebody has some terrible experiences at work. I don't know, because I've never managed a team, I don't know what the formal routes would be in a situation like that. So I have no choice but to actually just work through with the person sort of what options they might have available to them, maybe making some suggestions that, you know, are common sense suggestions, but then really listening and empathizing with them when those are really difficult things for that person to do, and helping them build the confidence to take the right action that is for them. So that's how I would handle it. Nicola, you've probably, working in a large organization, you've probably got a bit of a different experience of those sorts of scenarios.
I actually work in a small organization.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do. That's why I always talk about small companies, because
Right.
I've actually seen so many things go wrong in smaller companies that I've worked in, but then I've worked in larger companies as well, and they still tend to have a better way of approaching stuff, because they've had the time, the money, the energy to put into processes to handle stuff a lot better than smaller companies do. In terms of, do you want me to answer about being a mum? I can do it from that perspective, I guess. I call on my own experience when I have to answer questions like that about being a mum working in tech and how you manage it all. I go on my own experience, and I can say at the beginning of lockdowns it was hell. I will admit that, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to do that much mentorship at the beginning. But now that we're here, I've actually got more experiences that I can call on when I speak about those things with people who come to me as maybe mothers returning to work, or mothers within their careers who think, I can't deal with this and a child, and I'm having a crisis, what should I do? Then I can answer those questions honestly, because I've been there as well. If you haven't been there, like Kylie's saying, you know, you still may have some, you know, experience or some advice from other people that you've picked up along the way that you could share, and that might be helpful as well. So yeah, that's the way I really look at it.
And what about difficult situations? You know, if you're mentoring somebody who's having a very difficult career situation, you know, they may be bullied or whatever, how would you handle that, Nicola?
It totally depends on what their process is within their workplace. And I try not to say, well, I think you should do it like this. I try to understand more by like listening and asking the right questions to try and get as much info from the person about what the situation is. Because remember, you're only hearing one side of it as well. And you might give them some advice that actually is problematic for them. They go and action something and may end up losing their jobs or something. So it's a really fine line that you know have to walk, and you just have to give them as much advice as you can, but I always stipulate that this is just as much advice as I can give, but always suggest that they speak to their managers or speak to their people teams. If they have a HR or people team at work, they should always be able to go to them, and to the people team especially, so that they, you know, they've got to be non-biased, I guess, at the end of the day, and you know, the person should be able to go and speak to them. But I have had situations where people come to me with issues that are quite serious, and I always make sure that they know they should go and speak to somebody, because if they try and deal with it through me, I don't work at the company, I can't, you know, get involved. So I don't know, how do you normally handle it? Have you never had that, Kylie, at all?
Well, I work through, like you, I work through, help the person think through the options available to them, because that's, you know, all I can do really as an outsider.
Again, it's not counselling, it's not coaching, so we can only give very, you know, very little information or very little help in those situations based on personal experience, but everyone's experience is different. Everyone's company way of working on things like that is different. I wouldn't want to give somebody the wrong information and then they get into trouble or potentially lose their job. So you have to be really, really careful when you're mentoring.
That's some really great advice. Thanks, both of you, for that. Right, we're coming to the end of the session now. So really, it just leaves me to say thank you both so much for your time this afternoon. It's been really, really insightful. So really appreciate you sharing all of your wonderful experiences. And Nicola, I know you've put your LinkedIn and your Twitter in the chat as well. So if anyone wants to connect, then yes, please do go ahead. All the relevant links for the mentoring for BCS were shared earlier on as well. So yeah, you've got those links as well that you can check out. Kylie's just added in as well her LinkedIn. So yeah, please do connect with our brilliant speakers and keep in touch with them. Thanks so much for attending the session today. Hope you found it really useful, and yeah, hope to see you on our mentoring platform soon. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Cheers all. Bye-bye. I'll just wait a second for people to kind of get those LinkedIn comments before I shut the meeting down.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks
fun.
very much, Kylie.
All right. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.